Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to explore a really powerful new idea in AI, but we're not going to do it with complicated charts or anything like that. Instead, we're going to do it with a simple story about an engineer named Aria and a problem she decided to solve.
We've all gotten pretty used to AI that can chat with us, write things, and answer our questions. But the real question, the one that kind of changes everything, is this. What happens when an AI can stop just talking and start actually doing things for us?
And that's where our story begins, with Aria. Like so many of us, she was just feeling the grind of all those repetitive tasks. The same emails, the same meeting summaries, the same button clicks, day in and day out. And it was right there, in that frustration, that she got an idea. So she did what any good engineer would do. She built an AI helper to try and make her life a little easier. She named it Nova. And at first, Nova was pretty much what you'd expect. A standard AI assistant, helpful for certain things, but basically just waiting for the next command. And Nova was good at its job, for sure. It could whip up an email draft, summarize notes in a flash, and answer questions instantly. But you see, it always waited. It was passive. It was just a tool, kind of like a fancy calculator waiting for you to punch in the numbers. Then one day, Aria was looking at Nova and just started thinking out loud. She imagined something more. Not just a tool, but a real partner, an AI that could actually plan and act and even fix problems by itself, like a real teammate. She had no idea how soon that idea was about to be put to the ultimate test. And wouldn't you know it, that very night, it happened. A massive system failure. Red alerts just lit up Aria's screens. The company's whole cloud infrastructure was crashing. This was a real crisis, way too big for one person to handle alone. Aria was completely overwhelmed. Alerts were just flooding in. The error logs were a total mess. Every single second counted. She was staring at this wall of chaos, thinking, where do I even begin? And in that moment of panic, she turned to her little AI helper. And this is the moment where everything changed. Because when Aria asked for help, Nova didn't just give her a suggestion, it took initiative. It instantly created this logical 6-step plan to diagnose and solve the entire crisis. This wasn't a tool anymore. It was thinking. Okay, let's just hit pause on the story for 1 second, because what Aria just witnessed has a name. It's called Agentic AI. This is an AI that doesn't just process information. It actually understands a goal, comes up with a plan, and then takes action to make it happen, all inside a safe, controlled system. So that's the real difference, right? A passive AI is a tool that waits for your next command. But an agentic AI, well, it's a teammate that takes the initiative to actually solve problems. Now, let's get back to Aria's story. So, back in the crisis, Aria gives Nova the go-ahead. It starts executing its plan, connecting to all the monitoring systems and just diving into the chaos. And within moments, it cuts right through the noise and makes a critical observation, pinpointing exactly where the failure was coming from. And get this, Nova didn't just find a clue. It made a prediction. It analyzed a recent change and came back saying there was an 87% chance that was the root cause of the whole system going down. This wasn't a guess, it was a data-driven hypothesis. But here's the most important part, really. An agentic AI doesn't just act recklessly. It's designed to be safe. So before it even thinks about touching the live system, Nova asks for permission to run a simulation of the fix in a totally separate, safe test environment. It wanted to check its work without any risk. The simulation was a total success. The test proved that rolling back the change would solve the problem. And based on that result, Nova's confidence in its fix shot up from 87 to 93%. Now, with Aria's final okay, it was ready to act. So this is what the system looked like at the peak of the crisis. A nearly 100% error rate. Everything was broken. Customers were feeling it. The pressure was on. And this is the system just moments after Nova, with Aria supervising, applied the fix. Look at that. The error rate just plummeted. The whole system immediately started to stabilize. The crisis was being fixed, right there in real time. A few moments later, all the dashboards turned from red back to green. The alerts went silent. The problem was solved. The human and the AI, working together as a team, had stopped a disaster. When Nova reported its success, it said something pretty profound. It didn't say, I solved it.
It said, "We solve this together." And that is the absolute core idea of agentic AI. It's not about replacing us, it's about collaborating with us. It's a partnership.
And let's be really clear about how this partnership works, because it's built on trust and safety. Nova didn't go rogue. It made a logical plan, it asked for permission at every key step, it tested its solution before acting, and most importantly, it kept Aria in complete control the whole time.
So, Aria's story really shows us this fundamental shift. For so long, we've seen AI as something that just answers us. But the real future, the one that's going to help us solve our biggest problems, is an AI that can act. The future isn't just talking, it's doing. So, what's the big takeaway from all this? Well, a well-designed agentic AI is not a replacement for people. It's a force multiplier. It works with us. It only takes action inside the boundaries we define. It follows the rules we set. And it empowers us to take on challenges that used to be way too complex to handle.
And that's really the essence of it. Agentic AI. It's not just about having a ton of knowledge or processing power. It's about putting that intelligence into motion to get things done in the real world safely and effectively.
So I'll leave you with this thought. This next chapter of AI is all about moving from just answering questions to taking action. So just imagine, if you had a teammate like Nova for your work or for your biggest challenges, what problems could you solve? What could you build?
The possibilities are really just beginning. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer.